Hey guys, it is Miss Prashanta here. Thank you all so much for tuning into my podcast. I am back with episode 8, and today's episode should be so fun because we'll be talking to Gracie J, who is a fabulous nail stylist and one of the nail stylists on one of my favorite new shows, Claws, that airs on TNT every Sunday night. So let's go ahead and get into it. Hi, Gracie. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. I don't know if you know. Well, I'm pretty sure you know this by now. But your work is like absolutely stunning. I'm just like, how is
thank
she?
you.
You're welcome. I'm like, how is she doing all these designs? And I was like, I used to do nails like long time ago, long time ago, just for fun. But they were not like yours. I mean, it's like, what is she? How?
Girl,
like how?
No, but I promise you, it's just from like practicing and doing the same thing over and over again. Because when I look at my nail art from before I even started to take nail art seriously, it looks like crap. It looks like crap. When I look back at those pictures, I'm like, oh God, embarrassing. But it's practice. You know, once you're doing the same thing over and over again, and you know you have clients that are extremely supportive, like you do get better.
That is awesome. Now, how old are you? If you don't mind me asking, how old are you, and when did your love for nail art begin?
I am 27 years young. I've been into nail art since I was 13. I mean, it's kind of funny when I have to tell the story over and over again, but it's just like, it just makes me laugh every single time. Yeah, since I was 13, I've been into nail art. I used to literally, my little sister, who's 8 years younger than me, she used to be such a tomboy, and I remember just having to beg her to let me do her nails. She had the most beautiful nail beds, and she would never let me do her nails. So I used to do like these French manicures on my mom's nails, to put little, those little old school decals, the floral decals that you put on your French manicures. So it's always been, art in general has always just been a huge part of my life. I didn't have like, the greatest childhood, so art was kind of like my outlet. And it helped me a lot in just, finding something to put focus in. And eventually I just, realized that I really liked doing my nails. And so any little bit of change in money I had, I spent everything on nail polish. So it's like when you have money and you're just like, you get paid and you're like, oh my God, I don't know where my money's going to. You realize it's going to food. Mine was going to nail polish. So it was just like, since I was 13, been into nail art, and it's just something that just kind of stuck with me along the way. And I started working with, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Christina Brown from LoveBrownSugar.com.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, Christina, I love her. She's, I remember she had put an ad up. She needed an intern to help her with Fashion Week, and we had a meeting. And from then, I went from being her intern to her assistant beauty editor, and we started a column on her website called Style, Play, Polish, in which we would do nail art, tutorials for the everyday girl, like easy to do nail art that's like cute and chic, and you just you do it in 5 easy steps or less. So she ended up getting pregnant by her with her lovely little baby. And with her getting pregnant, she needed someone to attend events. So she had me as her assistant beauty editor, just attend all these events. And one thing I did start noticing is that people were taking to my nails a lot. People would literally stop me on the street or stop me at events and just ask me questions about my nails. And I'm like, something is happening here. I don't know what it is, but something's happening. So I was like, okay, just made up my mind. I was like, okay, whenever I go to these events, anywhere I go, even if my hair and makeup is not done, my nails are always going to be done. I'm always going to have something cute on my nails. My nails are always going to be on point. I ended up going to this beauty lodge in which there was an Essence street style photographer there. Her name is Hanan Saleh. She was there, saw my nails, and she was like, oh, where do you get your nails done? These are awesome. And I'm like, girl, I do my nails myself. She's like, are you serious? And she's like, have you ever thought about working on set? I was like, no, like, what is that? So she was like, okay, girl. She was like, okay. She's like, I have a couple of test shoots coming up. I think you should come. You should do the model's, nails, for the shoot. I'm like, okay. So I bring my little bag. I didn't even have a kit yet. Just whatever nail polish I could rummage from my room. I just, brought them with me. And I just fell in love. And I felt at home. I felt like it was where I was supposed to be. It just, something just clicked in me. And I was like, and something clicked in me without me even realizing it. And the hairstylist that was there and the makeup artist, Alan, rest in peace, such a beautiful person, and the makeup artist, Torrance, they were like, you're really good at this. Why aren't you doing this for a living? And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, right. I have a college degree. I'm not going to go work at a chop shop nail salon. So they were like, no, you can actually do this working on set. They're like, we're telling you, people make, pretty decent living, doing nails for, editorials and all types of different sets. And I'm like, okay, but if I do this, I'm going to have to get my license and do all of that. So I just kept it in the back of my head for a while. I did test shoots here and there whenever I was available. What got me really excited is that the first test shoot I did with them got picked up for Mod magazine. It was a spread called Cold Blue. And I was like, oh my God. My first editorial, my nails get picked up and I can see the nails on it. And so I just, kept that in the back of my head. And I was like, okay, something's happening. I don't know how to go about this yet, but I'm going to sit patiently and wait and see what life is going to send my way.
That has to be really cool to see your work just in the magazine or just not on your nail, just on something, on someone else or just in a magazine.
Right.
It has to be really cool.
Right. And the pictures were so beautiful. The photos are so beautiful. The makeup, the styling. And I was just and I'm like, this is an amazing feeling. And I'm thinking to myself, how do I make this more of a frequent? And I ended up, my last corporate job, I ended up working at MAC Cosmetics. I was the assistant to the VP. And I remember just one thing that always stuck with me from college is one of my professors used to say all the time. She's like, wherever you end up working, any piece of paper they give you to process or print or whatever, she was like, read everything because you'd be surprised what you'll learn from even the smallest, the smallest piece of paper that you think has no importance. You'd be surprised what you'll learn from it. So I just remember any piece of paper that I came across that I was given to process, I read everything. And
that's
one day
smart, yeah.
Girl, one day I came across this invoice from this manicurist, and I was like, hold up, this woman is making more than I'm making in a 40-plus hour week, 9 to 5, before taxes. She's making that for a 2-day shoot. I was like, no. I was like, this is unrealistic. I was looking at this person's work, and I was like, yeah, their work is great, but I can do this. I can do better. I was like,
now you're like,
better.
Okay, it's time to get on set or something.
Girl, I was like, yes. I was like, how am I going to do this? So I set, a plan for myself. I'm like, okay. So, my foundation, I feel like I need to get a license because I feel like, when you have certificates and licenses and degrees and stuff to back you up, people will trust you more. So, because then they know, okay, she knows what I'm doing, what she's doing. And, one of my biggest things is as I'm going along my journey and learning all these things, I make it my business to educate my clients as well, just so they know what they're getting themselves into. And when I saw that paper, I was like, no. I was like, it's a wrap. So from 9 to 6, I was working at MAC. From 6 to 9, I was going to school for 4 months straight, 4 days a week, just pursued my license. And when I left MAC, I transitioned into assisting my first Fashion Week show. Then I started working at this little high-end nail salon in the city. And I was like, okay, I'm going to give myself a year. I want to see where this goes. And, if it doesn't work out, I'll go back to corporate or whatever. And it's been almost 5 years. And I've never looked back. And everything just keeps getting better and better. And I have a lot of gratitude to give, to the people that have been supportive of me. To the people that have been supportive of me, to just, whether it's been, advice on the industry or just advice on life and, the way life lessons work or business advice or just, people just rooting me on.
Where did you go for school and how did you make your way to Brooklyn? Because you're not from Brooklyn originally, right?
No, so I was born in Brooklyn. I was born in Brooklyn. Then from 5 months to 8 years old, I lived in Haiti with my grandma. So my grandmother raised me. And then from then, I came back to the States, and I lived in Queens. So from 8 to 17, I was in Queens. From 17 to 22, I was in Long Island because I went to school at LIU at the Long Island campus. I studied art and media management and a minor in PR.
Wow.
So, yeah. So I'm like, you know, it definitely, it's something that, you know, of course I'm thinking to myself, okay, I have tons of student loans. I'm doing nails. I could have just gone straight to beauty school after and just avoided all of that. But there's a lot that comes with just, you know, being a Black woman in the industry and being able to say, well, you know, yes, I do nails, but I'm also, you know, and it's not to say that people who don't have degrees aren't educated. I've, you know, encountered people who don't even have college degrees whose mental levels are just, you know, surpasses a person who probably even has a PhD.
Oh, I totally understand. It's like a different feeling, you know, just being able to say, you know, I have my degree.
Right.
Yeah, I am doing this and
right.
that, but I also have my degree.
Right. You're able to put people in their place, you know, when they want to, you know, test you, and when people think that because you're just, you know, you're just a manicurist or a nail. I don't like to call myself a nail tech or a manicurist. I like to call myself a nail stylist because I want nail artists or nail stylists to get the same notoriety that makeup artists, wardrobe stylists, and hairstylists get in the industry. Because oftentimes we're put on the back burner. No one thinks about nails. Meanwhile, you know, when you have all these red carpet events, you know, you can't just show up with dirty nails and, you know, just that's like, who does that? Like, who does that? You can't, you know, one thing that I think from going to school in Haiti and from just being in, you know, one of those countries where hygiene and cleanliness people would send you back home if your nails were dirty. Like your teacher would send you back home and be like, your nails are dirty, your nails need to be cut, you need to go back home. Your parents need to do your hands. So I grew up in a culture where if you're going out, whatever you do, just personal hygiene, personal maintenance has to be from head to toe. If you're going out, your hair needs to be done, your outfit needs to be on point. Like, you know, your oral hygiene has to be on point. Your bodily hygiene has to be on point. Your nails have to be on point. You cannot, being from a Haitian culture, and I think it's just Caribbean people in general, we're very prideful people. And we don't want to give anyone the opportunity or even the option to be like, well, she smells or her outfit is like on point. It's just like a cultural thing. So to me, it's always been important. As important as it is for your hair and makeup to be done and for your outfit to be done, your nails need to be done too. Because I speak with my hands a lot, and, you know, a lot of people speak with their hands. You know, that's how people, you know, communicate, and that's how people, you know, relay messages and, you know, show emotion. So when you have your hands in front of someone's face all the time and all they can focus on is how disgusting your nails look and they can't hear what you're saying, I would rather have someone distracted by how, like, you know, neat or well put together I am than how not well put together I am.
Definitely. And also, throughout your career, did you have, like, a tough time networking, or do you feel like opportunities came pretty easily living in a big city?
Networking is very hard for me because I'm an introvert. Like, I think a lot of times people, because I do well around people and I do well in social environments, I'm also an introvert. Like, I'm very shy. Like, I think that's one thing that people might be like, what? Really? You're shy? I'm extremely shy. I get, you know, extremely uncomfortable, like, you know, and awkward. I'm just like an awkward little nut. And and it was very hard for me, and I had to learn over time. And I'm still learning till this day, like, you know, to put myself out there. And I have to remind myself that when I go to events, I can't just stand there and just expect people to come up to me and talk to me. I have to engage as well. So yeah, like I think, you know, my success, you know, did come from me putting myself out there and just communicating and linking up with, you know, with other creatives and I guess manifesting a lot of things. I'm a strong believer in the laws of attraction. And I think, you know, in order to receive certain things back, you need to be able to, you know, to put out.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, so I think, you know, I'm thankful enough that my work is good enough that I don't have to feel as awkward to network myself because normally people will be like, oh, people will take notice to my work easily. So that makes it a little easier on myself as an introvert to be like, hey, let's chat. It's definitely a great icebreaker for me.
Yes.
But it comes from like just me just meeting the right people, just building relationships with the right people who share the same drive and the same mentality, people who are about being positive and supporting each other and pushing each other up. So one thing that I do say all the time is that if you're not surrounding yourself with a circle of people that share that same ideology as you, where you're all trying to work together to get to the top, if you're not doing that, then when you get to the top, it's going to be lonely and you're going to fall easily, because who can you trust if you haven't been putting that trust in other people and allowing people to be, supportive of you and vice versa.
Exactly. Well, I definitely, I love your work, and I'm pretty sure everyone else do. I saw claws. I love claws.
Girl.
The first episode, I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting all this to happen. It's a great show. Then I was like, wait a second, who's doing their nails? I was like, who is this person? I have to find him. And I was
the thing with Claws is it's not only me. It's a collaboration of 4 different artists.
Yeah.
So they do have me on set, as the key, and I'm responsible for, helping, the other artists, execute design ideas and pitch ideas. The other artists are just as talented, and they do amazing work too. And it's the amazing part about it is that each of us has something different to offer to a different audience.
How did you get the job of being the key nail artist for Claws on TNT?
Well, this is, and I always say this whenever I get interviews. I'm like, this is the story I'm sticking to. This is what I think happened. I did a beauty story with Essence magazine about a year and a half ago. I think it's a year or a year and a half ago, 2 years. I don't remember, but it was featuring nail artists to know and just tips on designs. And I was one of the 3 artists that they featured in the magazine. And I think I'm under the impression that that's how they found me, but that I'm also under the impression that they found me via social media as well. But I'm like, that's the story I'm sticking to. That one sounds better.
Well, it's really amazing. Either way, they came to you, right?
Yeah.
So that part is really amazing.
Right. And one thing that I always, and this is nothing that isn't meant for you will come to you. And if something is meant for you, it is just written in the stars. And sometimes, things come and they last, and sometimes they don't. And I think it's just, God's way, or, the universe's way, whatever anyone believes in. It's, the higher power's way of being like, this is where you need to be at the moment. This is what you need at the moment. This might be your stepping stone for a far greater opportunity. And you might end up here, at the same time. Who knows? Hopefully, I'm back for season 2, but, this is where I needed to be. At this time, season 1 is where I needed to be, and whatever, this catapults me into, whatever next step in my career, I'm just excited to see where it takes me.
I'm excited for you.
Girl, I tell people this all the time. I'm like, I think one thing that I do, just going back to being a kid, and I think the reason why my mentality is the way that I am just comes from being with a parent who was extremely overprotective, and there could be an upside to it, and there could be a downside. But the upside to having had a single mom who was overprotective, is that I was around adults all the time, and not only was I around adults all the time, just hearing adult conversations and being able to just formulate my own opinions and ideas about things. We watched a lot of time spent watching TV was watching documentaries and watching 2020 and watching Oprah and and seeing all these things. And I think watching other people's stories and watching inspirational people like Oprah and bringing inspirational people onto her show really stuck with me. And I remember, I think it might have been on her show or her speaking about something called The Secret, the book called The Secret, and just the power of manifesting, what you want, out of life, or what you would like to achieve in your goals. And just over time, just from being a kid and, to being at this point in my life, being a young adult, just knowing that manifesting what you want and the laws of attraction is something that works. And
definitely.
Yeah. And, not only do you of course you do have to put work into, reaching your goal, because it's not, you can't just sit there and be like, well, I'm going to, manifest $20 so that you drop on my lap. Like, you can't, you got to work for for that $20. You got to put in some type of energy into receiving that. And in the beginning of the year, I made a vision board. It was raining that day. I was like, you know what? I'm going to be productive. I went out. I went to the 99-cent store on the corner of my block, and I bought this big foam board. I went and, one of my lovely clients, Augusta, she bought me some magazines because she's like, girl, so you need to, do your vision board too. And I was like, okay. She bought me tons of magazines from home, brought those home, got my little board, put together all these little things, about what I wanted in life, with love, career, achievements, friendships and personal growth and wanting my hair to grow. So one of the little things that I put on my vision board was that I wanted to break into TV and film. And literally less than a month later, I get an email in my inbox asking me to join the cause team. So
wow, that is amazing.
Yeah. So there's nothing. People can't tell me nothing. People can't tell me that laws of attraction and manifesting your destiny is not true.
Yeah, I'm a strong believer in that as well. I definitely think that, things happen the way they're supposed to happen, without a question. And you have to just strongly believe in that. And like how you say, something is not for you, you will know. You will know it's not for you. So that is very true. Now, I also love how the TV show is about, of course, I love it because the extra juiciness on it. But also for me, I like it because it's filled with so much fashion and the hair and then also the nails. And
right.
I think that is so much needed because now it's like reality TV. I love reality TV, but it's like, come on, like for the people out there who love the fashion, like I feel like the clause is definitely needed. So I always tune in every Sunday. How much time did you spend like doing those amazing nail designs? I saw recently you were writing on the alligator. Is it the alligator nail, I think?
Yeah, the little alligator pinky.
How much time are you spending on this?
What made this, alleviated our workload was the fact that we had different artists working on different episodes. So that definitely, helped us and gave us enough time, to brainstorm, for our episodes. And, oh my God, I don't think anyone outside of the nail art world, I don't think people understand how much time goes into, doing nail art, especially on a nail tip. I don't think anyone realizes, they think, oh, it's just a nail tip. You just, put pop. No, we were on set for 12 to 14 to 16 hours a day. And on top of being on set, if you have your episode coming up and you need to produce nails because the producers need to see, what they're working with, you're up till the wee hours in the morning when you have like a 5 o'clock call time. You're up, running on 2-3 hours of sleep, multiple days at a time and working on the weekends. And, since I've been here, and of course, I've being in NOLA, I've been here to work, but since I've been here, I haven't gotten a chance to even experience NOLA because we're working all the time. So whenever you get a chance to, have a break, you just sleep and you don't want to see anything. You don't want to talk to anybody. And you're like, if I see one more press on today, you're just like, I'm going to flip. But I'm very, like I was telling you before, I'm very about self-care and self-maintenance. I've gone weeks and even months without even having my own nails done. That's how much time I didn't have. I wasn't even doing my own nails. So it was pretty time consuming, but it was very rewarding. when you create, a look, for the cast and people are just like, oh my God, it's a great feeling when you see their reaction, like each time. So it's one of the things that kind of kept me going and that just made me excited to make nails all the time, because I know if I do a good job at this, like, one of the most rewarding things that I could get from that is seeing, the reaction on, the cast face and like, this is dope. And then you're like, oh, my hard work paid off.
Also, in your opinion, what makes a great nail stylist?
I think it's your ability to be open to growth, your ability to be open to constructive criticism, your ability to, allow yourself to be vulnerable. Because, as a creative, as, someone who's providing care to someone else, your work is going to be, criticized all the time. Your etiquette's going to be criticized all the time. I think it's your ability to just, keep pace also with the industry and, there's so many different things that I can say, because I think every person is different and everyone has something different to bring to the table, and everyone has different personalities and everyone has different styles of work. I think overall, I think it's your ability to relate to your clients, whether your client is like, an individual that you do nails on a daily basis, or your client is, a brand that loves to work with you. I think it's your ability to relate to that person, to be able to take direction well, to be able to take constructive criticism well, and, to be able to be open to the learning process of working with other people that are not like you, that you have to be, accepting to, that you have to be understanding towards. So I think those are some of the many things that make someone an exceptional nail stylist.
That's amazing. So, and who are some people who you admire or look up to in the beauty industry?
Oh my God. The one person that always comes to mind is Pat McGrath. Like I look up to Pat McGrath. Stevie, who's the department head for Claws, for makeup, and also Lawrence Davis, who is the department head for hair for Claws. I look up to those three people a lot, and I look up to Pat McGrath as a celebrity, stylist, and as, a public figure, because as a black woman, she's been able to break into an industry that's predominantly not of our own and be extremely successful with the way, like, she's executed her brand and herself, and just, oh my God, I haven't had the chance to formally meet Pat McGrath yet, but I remember assisting backstage Tommy Hilfiger a couple of seasons ago, and she was the lead makeup. And just when I'm not a person that's easily starstruck. I really try to think of, celebrities and stars as just normal people, because I think most of the time that's what they want to be. People don't want to be fussed over all the time. So, and I think, just working in different industries and having been around celebrities all the time, throughout my whole professional career, I've just become, okay, like, you're a regular person, you're a normal person who just happens to be super talented at what you do, and you're known for it, and everybody knows who you are. I've never had a starstruck moment until the day I walked in and I saw Pat McGrath sitting there, and I was just overwhelmed with, like, the energy that I got, the overwhelming feeling that I got. I almost cried. And I'm like, to see someone like me, be so respected, highly respected in an industry that is not always, that doesn't always, represent, women of color or people of color, whatever your ethnic background is, if you're a person of color, just to see that is inspirational. And I'm like, I need to be the Gracie J of nails as Pat McGrath is to makeup. And as far as Lawrence and Stevie, these are like two people that I admire, and I look up to they're both people of color who are so humble and they're so amazing at what they do. And just the way they carry themselves and the advice that they have to give, and you don't meet people like this on the regular, and you don't meet people with such great energy and people who are willing to help you catapult yourself to a new positive level, to a higher level, to help you realize certain things about yourself, maybe things that you need to improve, and maybe things that you're doing well, and people that just on a professional level with, man, the work that these two people combined together have under their belt, like their resume, it's crazy. But you would never know because they're so humble about it, and just the way they move in the industry is just so regal. I look up to them a lot. And, these are three people that I do look up to the most, Reese.
Yeah, and I was want to say, I feel like you're very humble as well, and you seem very positive and very fun, and how you're so dedicated to your craft. I really like that. And also, like, what keeps you grounded and grinding to, like, striving for more success?
I think the biggest flaw, but also the biggest flaw, but also that flaw is an amazing thing for creatives, is that we're very critical of ourselves. And we are hard on ourselves in terms of what we do. Like, no matter, like for me as a creative, no matter how many times a person tells me my work is amazing or that I do a great job, I'm always hard on myself, and I always think, well, I could have done this better. I could have, I pick myself apart. And I think there's a lot of times where I don't even give myself enough credit for, the things I do, and I have to sit back and be like, okay, hold up. Look at where you are right now. Look at your situation. And you wouldn't be where you are if you weren't good at what you do. And I think also what's very important to anyone in any industry, in whatever craft that you do, whatever, career path you choose to do, whether it has to do with career or just life in general, it's very important to surround yourself with genuine people. It's very important to surround yourself, that your circle is as dedicated to you as you're dedicated to them, and as dedicated as you are to yourself. And it's important to keep honest people around you. It's important to keep people around you that are going to check you when you're acting up. Because my friends and family, they've had to check me multiple times. Like, I'm not perfect, and yes, I'm fun and I have positive energy, but I'm also a human being, and I'm also going to have moments where I fuck up. And that the moments that I fuck up, I have to take accountability for my actions and realize, okay, this happened because I did this, and just learn to not blame everyone else around you for what you do. Hold yourself accountable. The same way, you hold yourself, when you experience certain success and you're like, oh, I did this, and you take credit for it, take credit for your fuck ups too. When you mess up, know that, okay, this is what I did. What can I do to make it better? And besides, two things that I always say to myself, number one is work smarter, not harder. And number two, always strive to be the better version of yourself. And in order to do that, and in order to do that, it's one of those things where you're never going to be 100% the way that you want to be or the way you visualize yourself to be. So it's always going to be, let's push forward. And I think that's what gives me the drive, because I constantly have a need to just want to be better. I want to be a better person. I want to be a better creative. I want to be a better artist. I want to be, just a better human being overall. And I think in order to do that, you have to, think to yourself, what can I do to achieve that? And, and just having people around you that are going to check you and be honest with you, and who have your best interest at heart. I think that's extremely important.
Definitely. Really important. Definitely important. I also want to ask you, for people who are wanting to, be a professional nail stylist, let me say stylist, or nail stylist, such as myself, what advice could you give to those who are struggling, with obstacles in their way and constantly being told, no, they're not good enough, or no, you can't do this or that, but they kind of get discouraged by that word no. What advice could you give to people out there in the world?
don't be discouraged by the word no, because the word no is the worst thing that could possibly happen to you. And when that word no comes about, then that's your chance to regroup and think, okay, this didn't happen this way because there's a better way that I can do this. There's a better way that I can go about this. I feel like a huge part of being successful in whatever, industry you want to be successful in, or craft or whatever, you have to be able to understand that rejection is a huge part.
Oh, yeah.
Is a huge part. Rejection is a huge part of everything. And I remember, I don't remember what the person's name was, but he was a speaker for the TED Talk. And I think he wrote a book about rejection, and he was speaking about rejection, and he kept saying, and one of the things that he said is that, is you have to figure out a way to make yourself immune to rejection, to desensitize yourself from it. And when you desensitize yourself from being rejected all the time, then, if you already know what it is, then okay, I'm going to get rejected, and it's not going to affect you as much as when you're not exposed to it all the time, because that's something that you're going to face on a daily basis. You're going to face it constantly. And whether, whatever job work that you've done, successfully is a great validation, you're going to be met with a lot of opposition. And even when you do come to a certain point where you're successful, you're going to be met with a lot of opposition, and people will come out the woodworks and try to discredit you as a person, discredit you as an artist. But it's just, my advice is, devise a plan, a plan that, you would like to pursue, and something, something that I always started small with my goals, because that was my way, because I feared rejection so much that I always started small with my goals. And I always started small with the things that I would put on my vision board, because I'm like, well, because I can't, shoot too high, because if I shoot too high and, it doesn't happen, then I'm going to feel that, that rejection. But a lot of things that happen in life, when certain things don't happen yet, it's because you're not ready for it. It's because you're not in the position to be able to, have those things come to you. And another thing is stop putting time on everything. Time means everything, and time also means nothing. And don't ever put a time limit to anything you do in life. Stop putting a time limit on, I need to be married by this age. I need to have kids by this age. I need to do this by this age. I have to have this career by this age. When I was younger, at 27 is not, where I saw myself at 27 is not where I'm at now. I'm in an even bigger place in my life, in my career. Stop putting so much expectation on time, and utilize that time that you do have to put focus on what it is that you need to get to. And stop thinking so much as, in order to be successful, I have to put in, 10, 15 years of hard work in order to, no. You never know who you're going to meet, what impact you're going to have on someone's life, if you're going to be at the right place at the right time. You never know what door or what opportunity is going to open for you in the next hour, in the next day, in the next month, in the next year, because when you're ready for that moment in your life that you've been putting hard work towards, that you've been manifesting, that you've been, sending out into the universe, through the laws of attraction, that you've been working your little tail off for. When that moment is ready for you, can't nobody tell you anything, and can't nobody take it away from you.
Exactly. You are like dropping gems over here. I love it.
Girl, I'm telling you, I stopped thinking about time, and I'm just like, like the song, like Carrie Underwood says, Jesus, take the wheel. I'm telling you, take the wheel, put me where I need to be placed, send me where I need to be put, learn from your mistakes. Everything you do in life is a lesson. Learn from your mistakes, learn from your success, learn what to do and what not to do, and what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And just because I've been able to achieve these certain things in my life at this point in my life, that doesn't mean that's the path that's for you.
That is amazing.
Yeah, create your own path and focus on what you're trying to achieve and how you're going to do it and how it's going to work for you, because no two things work for the same person. No one thing works for the same two people.
That is so true. That is so true, yeah. And last but not least, describe Gracie J in 3 words, and what can we expect next from you?
Let's see. I would say genuine, creative, and Haitian as hell.
I love it.
Genuine, creative, and Haitian as hell. It doesn't get any more. Oh my God! Like, I love my culture so much. I love my people so much. I love Black people so much. You can't take us anywhere. But it's just the love and the passion and we're just passionate people. And whatever it is that we do it with so much passion. And oftentimes that passion comes across, the wrong way, but we're so passionate and, we have so much love to put in everything that we do. And we're resilient people. We are strong people. We are creative people. We are people that have paved the way for, multiple, millions of years and centuries and generations. And we have so much culture, that we're abundant in culture, in vibrancy, in love, and just, I love my people. And, what do I see for myself next? I hope, it's that question. I was looking at that question the other day, and I'm like, I'm stunted, because I'm like, I don't even know. But because, I don't even know, but because I think I've grown to trust my talent enough. I've grown enough to trust my work enough, and trust, where I'm at in life, and trust that, wherever I'm meant to be next is where I'm going to be. And I strive for nothing but success and nothing more than something bigger than where I am now. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. So hopefully I just need to see the editorial male on the forefront, and I need to see, Gracie J on the forefront, and I need to see other Black, people like myself on the forefront, because there are a lot of things in the beauty industry, fashion, and makeup, and all these respective industries that wouldn't be possible without us, because a lot of things stem from our culture.
Oh, yeah, and before we get off, I was going to say, I love the editorial now. I love how, you're creating this platform for the everyday woman to, to come onto your site and look at all these fabulous designs. I think that's really awesome. What made you decide to want to do that?
It was, so I have, a lot of people that, that reach out to me via social media and just, asking me for advice on, branding and, how do I do this? How do I come up with, the right handle or the right, logo or the right, trademark and slogan and all that stuff. It comes with time. And it comes with time. It comes with experimenting with different things. It comes with, figuring out what's working for you, what doesn't, and what feels right and what doesn't feel right. It took me, oh my God, I started so many accounts. I was like, at first it was Gracie J Nails by Gracie J. And then and then another thing was, I wanted to be a natural hair blogger. So it was Curl Next Door. And I'm like, and it's just one day I was just like, okay, I don't even know how I came up with the editorial nail. It was just something that came to me. It was, given to me. And, and I started the Instagram account, and I was just going through, I was like, okay, what makes sense? And I typed it in, and I was like, whoa, somebody hasn't taken this yet? I'm like, this is fucking genius. Like, how come, no one has taken the editorial nail? And I was like, okay. And it was another one of those moments where you just knew that it was just supposed to be what it was supposed to be at the time that it came. And it was just just throughout time, just figuring out what your style is and what works and what doesn't work, and what people are, what people are engaging more with and what people aren't engaging more with. And I wanted the editorial nail, though, that whole thing just stems from where I started my career in editorial and my love for it, but also and then I came up with, curating nails for the artsy and minimalist and chic, came from just me looking at the editorial and thinking to myself, well, you know, I do a variety of different styles of work that are not necessarily editorial. So how can I, you know, let people understand what exactly the editorial mail means? So I'm like, okay, so, you know, I'm able to create different styles of work for different people who like different styles of work. So it's, I can take the word, because editorial is such, you know, a curated platform, then I say, okay, then it's the editorial part comes from me being a curator of these things that are relatable to the everyday woman. So that's where that came from. And then on top of that, like, I love the acronym, because you think of 10, you think of 10 fingers and 10 toes. So I was like, okay. I'm like, it's just, you know, yeah, just there's a lot of trial and error that came with creating this brand. And, you know, you're going to continue to, you know, be faced with trial and error. And that's the only way that you could ever get better at what you do. So, yeah, growth, girl, growth. One more, like, piece of advice that I have for just anyone is to be true to yourself and stay headstrong and stay firmly near your values, because, you know, it shows your consistency. It shows, you know, the kind of person that you are, because you know, as glamorous as the industry, you know, looks, or any industry looks, there's a lot of, you know, downside to it too. And you have to, and if you stay steadfast to your values, you just stick to your values and just be, you know, a genuine person, because it pays off in the end.
Thank you so much, Gracie. I really appreciate you talking to me.
No, thank you for giving me this opportunity, and I just really love what you're doing. And when I was looking on your page, I saw Stephen Hill on your page, and I used to work for BET, so I used to like frequent his. So I used to frequent his presence a lot. So he's, you know, I was like, okay. I was like, cool. I'm like, Stephen Hill, give her a shout out. So we cool here.
That is so funny. But yes, much success to you. You are so talented, like you really are, and I appreciate you again for talking to me. You guys, make sure to check out Claws every Sunday night, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Miss Bashanta.
Didi